All right, so now we're going to use those trigonomic ratios to help us to solve problems about finding the lengths and the angles of a right triangle. So in this case, all we have is we have one angle and one side of a right triangle, and we can use just that information to find everything else out about that triangle that we need to. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by finding the side labeled x because we have this angle and we have this side, okay? And what I know is that I can use either sine, cosine, or tangent of this angle to find this side over here. So the side that I want is opposite of that angle. The side that I have is the hypotenuse. So what I notice is that I have the opposite and the hypotenuse, and that's my SO in my beginning of my acronym. That means that I'm going to use the sine. So what that means is that the sine of 34 degrees equals x over 164, opposite over hypotenuse, okay? So this can become kind of like a ratio, okay? I'm going to put this over 1 because that's what we do any time that we have a value that we want to make into a fraction, okay? Now, sine of 34 degrees is something that you can calculate on your TI-83. So I just want to show you really quick. You want to make sure, I don't have one of those fancy things like Miss Olson does on her computer, so I'm just going to kind of try and show you. So what you want to do is you want to make sure on your calculator that you're set to degree. Okay, so make sure that that mode is set to degree on there. And then once you know that it's set on there, you're just going to take the sine of 34 degrees and you're going to press enter. So hopefully you can see that. Okay, so I know that the sine of 34 degrees is 0.559. Okay, so that means that 0.559 over 1 equals x over 164. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply. So 1 times x, or I can just write x, equals 0.559 times 164. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and multiply those. And I get 91.70, let's round it to 8. All right? So that means that this side over here, x, equals approximately 91.708 centimeters, which this is good that I got a number that's smaller than the hypotenuse because this is just one of the things that I would do to check my work because the hypotenuse is always supposed to be longer than both of the legs. So if I got a number that was bigger than 164, I would know that I messed up and I didn't do the work correctly along the way. All right, so now my next thing I need to do is find the measure of the other angle. So I want to find the measure of this angle. Let's call this angle A. All right? So if I look at this angle here, I know that opposite from this, or the sides that I do know from this angle are, I know the adjacent side, and I know once again, the hypotenuse. So I know the AH. That means I'm going to use the I'm going to use the cosine. So I know that the cosine of angle A equals 91.708 divided by 164. So cosine of A actually equals, I'm going to divide this, 0.559. Okay? All right. 0.559. So now what we're going to actually do is we're going to do the opposite of the cosine. So just like I would, if I was taking 4 times A, I would divide by 4. Or if I had A plus 6, I would minus 6. I'm going to do the inverse of cosine. Okay? So the symbol that we use for that is cosine with a -1 exponent. So I'm going to take the inverse cosine of both sides. This will cancel. That'll give me that A equals the inverse cosine of 0.559. And that actually is a button on your calculator. It's right above the cosine. You're going to use that second key. Okay? So I'm going to click the second key, and I'm going to take the cosine inverse of that decimal. And on my calculator, if you'll look, I actually typed in and used the answer key there so that I could get an exact answer. Okay? So I ended up getting 56 degrees for this angle right here. All right. I know this is difficult. This is new stuff. So basically, an attempt is better than nothing. So I want you to try the same thing on here. You're going to start by finding that angle using the inverse of one of those functions, sine, cosine, or tangent. And then you're going to find the length of AC. You could call that x. Okay? So do your very best. Bring this information to class with you tomorrow.